na baadaye kitu bado nilikuwa side ya Tanzania kule. Huko kupiga simu Kenya ni haiendi through mpaka utumie WhatsApp. Sasa wakaniambia gari tumengoja, gari imefika na tunaenda.
Nilishtukia matatu imenikaribia.
Nilipiga honi ama mfanya nini?
Nilipiga honi. Unajua ukiona kitu mbele yako. Nilipiga honi, nikajaribu kuzuia breki kidogo. Sasa ile matatu ilikuwa na speed zaidi. Ndio ikakuja ikakutana na mimi hapo.
Tunaenda.
Nilishtukia matatu imenikaribia.
Nilipiga honi ama mfanya nini?
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has officially rolled out its photo registration exercise, announcing that the process will be conducted in phases across the country.
Speaking to the press in Kajiado, IEBC chairperson Erastus Edung'ethakon said phase 1 of the registration exercise will target all 290 constituencies. He
noted that the registration process is scheduled to conclude 8 months before the 2027 general election, in line with electoral timelines.
Ethakon explained that phase 2 will move to the grassroots, focusing on wards and villages to ensure no eligible voter is left behind.
Yes, at the moment we were given a budget by the Treasury, although there were certain budget cuts, but we've negotiated with the Treasury, and for this registration of voters, especially the first phase, this is phase 1, which will target the 290 constituencies. We have funding for that. And then as we move, remember the election is in 2027. And we are supposed to register citizens, eligible voters, for a period up to 8 months before the general elections. That's when we will close the registration process and clean up the register, do the voter register audit, and then publish the register. So we are doing registration in phases, and this is phase 1, which will be focused at the constituency level. Then phase 2 will now go further down to the wards and villages. And that is, for that one, we will get enhanced funding as well, so that we conduct that mass voter registration exercise as well.
This country is a young country. Out of the entire population of Kenya, 77% are under 35. Youth, you listen to me. That the under 35. Youth, you are defined as 18 to 35. 0 to 18 are called children. So those ones still can't vote. And they are 46%, 0 to 18. And you, the youth, you are 31%. So I want to ask you, if you want to determine how this country is driven, what can stop you? You are 31% of all of us. Those of us who are between 35 and 60, and I'm not there, are 18%. And myself, I am over 60. We are only 5%. So I don't have to vote. Myself, I don't have to vote. It does not matter how many times I vote. It will not make a difference. You, are you listening? You are 31%. So, please, put your hand up and do your job. And if you don't do it, those of us who are 5% like me, we will do it for you, and we will do it the way we know how to do it.
Kila mtu hapa amesimama ameongea amesema kijana kijana kijana. We the young people of Kenya, hata tumepewa statistic na professor. We make 31%. Naomba sasa munisikilize chenye nasema. Tujitokeze tupige kura.
And of course, this will be one of the stories that we'll focus on as well on the newspapers, because there's a huge target by IEBC, 6.3 million new voters, and these are young people. So, I mean, will they achieve that huge number, considering that some of the polling stations, or at least registration centers, I'd say, received no single individual to register for as a voter yesterday.
Yeah, I think before we get to that time, I think we shall have hit the target that we want, because when you look at the issue of finance bill, you saw how the number of young people produced themselves for the demonstrations, the anti-finance bill. So I think because there are some things they promise they want to change, I think we'll see a big number for voter registration.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll be looking forward to that.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, IBC has unveiled a new biometric voter registration system that incorporates eye scanning technology ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Speaking to the media in Meru, stakeholders welcomed the new technology, saying it would enhance accuracy, eliminate cases of duplicate registrations, and improve the credibility of the voter register.
They urged eligible voters across the country to take advantage of the registration exercise and ensure they carry their national identity cards when visiting registration centers.
Pia ningetaka kusema kwa sheria kulingana na Elections Act Section 44 imesema tume huru ya uchaguzi itaweza kudevelop na kuintegrate teknolojia ambayo itaweza kufanya usajili uwe accurate, safe, secure. Na wakati tunafuatilia hii, utaona wakati utaenda kuchukuliwa kule zile biometric, tumeongeza mpaka kuchukua zile iris. Hiyo ni part ya biometric. Labda miaka ingine tutaongeza mpaka voice. Wakati mwingine labda tutaongeza maybe vifaa vingine. Lakini hasa kisheria biometric inahusisha mpaka mambo ya iris. Kwa hivyo watu wasiwe na tashwishi. IBC inazingatia ile mambo ya data correction kabisa. Kwa hivyo nahimiza wananchi wote wa Meru ambao wangetaka kupata hizo services tatu nimetaja wajitokeze kwa huu muda. Wakati utakapofika kwa kituo utahitajika kuwa na kitambulisho original ama kitu tunaita valid passport. Otherwise usije ukakuja na photocopy, usije ukakuja na huduma number ama ukuje na military card. No, ni hizo vitu mbili tu tutakuwa tukitumia. Na pia kuna zile wale tunasemanga hawawezi jisajili kwa sababu ya labda walihusika kwa makosa na wakahukumiwa na koti, na hiyo hukumu haijamaliza miaka 5 within last 5 years, ama kuna akili timamu pia ile tunaitaga unsound mind, utaweza kuparticipate kwa hii exercise. Na ningetaka kutaja tu kwa ufupi, katika Meru County tunatarajia kusajili vijana 220 mpaka 2027. Lakini kwa wakati huu tutakuwa na usajili katika kila ofisi la eneo bunge, IBC offices, ambapo wale wote wanataka kujisajili wanaweza enda kwa eneo bunge, ofisi la eneo bunge lolote la IBC. Sio lazima watembee ama wasafiri, kwa sababu wakati huu tuko na ile kit tunaitanga open kit, ambapo ukiangalia pahali uko, kama uko Nairobi na ni mtu wa Meru, unaweza enda constituency iko karibu na wewe na utaweza kujisajili huko, lakini tutaweza kupata maombi yako hapa na tutakuwa kwa register ya Meru. Kwa hivyo wakati huu tutakuwa tukisajili wale hawajaisajili. Tutaweza kufanya ile kitu tunaitanga change of particulars, lakini ningetaka vijana waelewe ama wale wanataka kujisajili, kama unataka kuhamisha kura yako, hiyo hutaweza kukaa pahali huko. Hiyo lazima uende katika eneo bunge ambayo unataka kufanya ile transfer.
Now, the Council of Governors has urged the national government to release the September equitable share allocation and settle pending disbursements owed to counties.
Speaking during a meeting, Wajir Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, who doubles up as the COG chair, said counties are owed Kenya shilling 36.2.75 billion Kenya shillings for September 2025, warning that critical county operation risk granting to a halt if the funds are not dispersed promptly.
The governor has also renewed their criticism of the recently introduced digital e-procurement system, saying it has stalled county operations since its rollout 3 months ago.
Equitable share, counties are owed 36.275 billion for September 2025 allocation. We note that there's still a balance of 27.84 billion from the last financial year's County Government Additional Allocation Act. We feel that as governors and counties, we have really been pushed to the wall. So much so that we are unable to operate. There are governors who up to today have not been able to pay salaries.
Bills now are at the level of 720 billion, out of which 172 billion is with the county governments, and we must confront that issue and resolve it once and for all.
Teenage mothers, wherever they are in our country, they have a direct access to health care paid by the government of Kenya through the Social Health Authority.
Right, and we'll be taking a look as well at what happens with the county governments, the devolved units, obviously, who have been decrying less money. And we all know the governors are also against the e-procurement system, which essentially is going to streamline procurement processes. Okay, that's what we shall be doing immediately after this. We are having a short break. Then as we get back, we shall get into the newspaper review and what Cynthia said about devolution. That is where we shall be diving into. Thank you for watching EBN TV. We shall be back in a moment. All right, the newspapers, let's look at what has been headlined on the local dailies this morning. We do have the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper. Now, the Nation continues to make a follow-up on the Kikopey tragedy that claimed 14 lives, and it has been able to identify some of the victims of that particular crash, and their names have been put up on the newspaper's headline. Shattered Lives, that's the key title, where the death toll for 9 months of 2025 is higher than what was recorded in a similar period in 2024 due to tragedies. Now, Lydia Njerumburu, Elijah Mburu, Robinson Karanja, Joyce Wambui, Lydia Wanjiru, Naomi Wangui, Beatrice Waithira, Catherine Jambi, Lydia Wanjiru, Pauline Muthoni, Evelyn Nyawira, Elijah Mburu, and Lois Wambui. These are some of the crash victims, and we condole with the families that have lost their loved ones. There are those who are still in hospital, who are still recovering. We also wish them a very quick recovery. Now, Susan Wanjiru wishes it was just a nightmare, but it isn't. Her elderly parents, her son, and 4 sisters are all gone. They were among 16 relatives who left their Muranga village on Sunday for Lanet to visit an ailing kin. They never made it to their destination. And that's the reality, just that a very close-knit family who left home to go and visit a sick relative in another county or another village were unfortunate to be the victims of that ill-fated crash that happened on Sunday. I think there's something we were told yesterday about the expansion of the roads along, of the road
Nairobi-Nakuru highway. And I think there are some stakeholders who should be involved to make sure that this road, it becomes a good road that we can rely on. Because I want you to imagine you are in a state of depression or even stress. You're going to visit your loved one who is sick or who is laid in hospital for sickness, and then you find that on the road. And I think we have Kenya, we have Kura, we have NTSA, we have our police, traffic officers, and we ourselves are also supposed to control what is happening on our roads. Because there is a time I checked on vehicle ferrying from a place I don't want to mention, and when I tried to check on the validity of the license, it was already expired, and it is a 14-seater. You can imagine how dangerous and risky is that. So I think we have to be very careful, all of us, plus the stakeholders, so that we make sure that we are safe on the roads. Because you remember what happened along August, the month of August, the number of accidents that took place. So to avoid this, we can just be vigilant and be careful. And we need to talk. We need to speak out. Yes.
Yeah, and to just look at some of the statistics, for example, just this year alone in January, we've had 392 deaths because of road accidents. In February, 360. In March, 387. In April, 408. In June, 414. In July, 396. And of course, August recording the highest number at 461. In total, just this year alone, to date, we have lost 3,397 people from road accidents, and that's a huge number that needs to go down. And as Jeff has said, it's one of those industries that requires a multi-sectoral approach, and not just those people in office, but also you as an individual. As you board that matatu or that PSV, whether you're a passenger or not, just look at the driver. Is it somebody that is going to drive you well? Are they drunk? If you're along the way and they're over speeding, it is your right to call it out and say stop over speeding. You need to slow down, because it is responsibility, and often more than not, it could be something that you are able to avoid, and unfortunately some instances you're not able to avoid. But just the statistics tell a grueling story of just the number of road accidents reported this year and the high numbers. And that road, the Nairobi-Nakuru highway, I'd also compare it perhaps to the Mombasa-Nairobi highway as well. Quite tiny road, and you're having 18 wheel vehicles that are passing by, you're having trailers, it's a multi-purpose road, and everybody's trying to get to where they're going, and so it needs some bit of expansion, and just, I know there are contractors, engineers who are best suited to give advice on what to do, and they need to come on board as soon as possible.
Yeah, but before they do the kind of advice that they have to give to the road builders, I think we have a very big space for expansion. Like when you go to Mombasa Road, actually you can expand both sides by two-way. So I don't think why we just need to look like we are so reluctant when we are developing our very own country, and the roads are economically beneficial to us. So just have to think broad.
All right. We also had the story on the IBC turnout, where low voter turnout has been registered as voter registration continues. Now, 6.3 million is the figure IBC targets to collect. There's been a difference in technology, and like previously where you had to go and they do your thumbnail, now it is your eye. That is the technology they're using to ensure that you're not going to double register, which is quite important, as well as to just get the right details. But the worrying situation is that there are some registration centers across the country which recorded zero, and I mean zero, none. No one walked into that registration center to register as a voter. And that raises key questions. I know we're going to say it's just day one, but I mean, come on, how do we get these people out to come out and register as voters? Because voter apathy is a key problem in this country. If you compare with 2022, we had a high number of young people who were to register as voters. Number one, they didn't, and those that registered didn't turn out. And so I know that is one of the things that IBC will be sitting down to just understand, are we doing enough civic education? Have we done enough public service announcement, PSAs on the media? Are we doing enough road shows to ask people to come out and vote? And that's a key figure. that, you know, I'm looking at that number, 6.3 million, which equates to perhaps the population within Mount Kenya region as a voting block. So that means these people who are being targeted are a voting block, and that will be a key number, not just for IBC, but also for politicians.
Yes, you've mentioned about the issue of civic education and maybe kind of advertisements to and public participation. And I think we can leave that aside, but we also have to check the issue of technology, and we have to go to the grassroots to make sure that everyone is acclimatized with the new norm for voter registration, because we are transitioning from kind of traditional way of registration to a very technological and very much advanced one. So one thing I can also try to check as to why, or I can put out as to why maybe a lot of people did not come out yesterday. I think there is also the way you may think or even try to evaluate and try to re-evaluate situations whereby, like last year you saw, not last year, even some years back, you've been witnessing a lot of rigging, and people may say, are we going to the same route, or do we go, like I overheard someone say that you queue for a very long time to give someone a job, and after that, it's like things don't know as per the promises. So I think when it comes to the transparency of our leaders should work and operate, I think when they operate well and how they've promised, I think it will be very easy for us to choose voting and voting so easily. So maybe we change the systems of how we do promise and if we do promise, we don't overpromise, or if we promise, we make sure that we fulfill, so that we pull our people to voter registration.
Incredible. Now, crackdown on school unrest, that is also the headline. Students implicated in riots will sit their national examinations at designated centers outside their schools as authorities grapple with a wave of unrest. Education CS Julius Ogamba has directed school managers to enforce strict disciplinary measures, including expulsion. That is the crackdown on schools unrest. Also, top of the page, MPs say SHA is misleading on premium benefits, and the lawmakers accuse the state of promising enhanced medical cover than what the Social Health Authority is delivering. And the situation has seen many patients asked to pay extra money to cover for the deficit. And those are some of the top stories on the Daily Nation this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia, for covering what is in Daily Nation. And I'm having the Standard, the Kenya's bold newspaper. Now, I think yesterday there were no more stories. There were no many stories for the Standard, because it keeps on revealing the truth and eating the nail on the top. And we've seen one other. Obel is a genius, but being a genius, you have to be very important and very vital to a society. But again, you become a loud genius. It's like you're very genius, you're very brilliant, or even you can do things extraordinarily. But when you do that, you make sure that you're taking advantage of other people. And you have on the top story of the Standard, we have Obel is a loud, a genius. It's like, yes, what I've just explained. Professor Ada Obel, who died in Nairobi after battling prostate cancer, was a towering yet polarizing figure in Kenya's medical history. Brilliant, disciplined, and eccentric. He claimed to have developed the controversial HIV/AIDS remedy, Pal Omega, which brought in both patients' gratitude and fierce rejection by local and global health authorities. To some, he was a savior. To others, a quack driven by delusion and discord, who conned the desperate. A strict academic with a photographic memory, Obel also quoted scandal from gun incidents to bitter scientific wars. Yes. As I was saying, this guy, I think that is very, very bright. He was very reliable and very dependent in the society. But it's like he tried to discover the controversial HIV/AIDS remedy by the name Pal Omega. He used to help the society, but when it came to the other side, it's like he was a quack. The quack doctors or something, like you're fake, you don't do things professionally, you just grab into things and just do as they come. So, and you see people claiming or even complaining that it was good, but on the other side, it was trying to exploit and maybe try to misuse and overuse the desperate. What do you make of such a person in the society?
Well, I mean, number one, we need to acknowledge that no one is perfect and everybody has got their own flaws. The only difference could be, are your flaws affecting various people in the society to an extent that they never forget? When they just hear Cynthia Nanjala, they'll always say negative things about Cynthia Nanjala. And so one can be as brilliant as they could be. They could be geniuses at what they do. They could be innovators. They could be trendsetters. But as they always say, you wouldn't have gotten to that point unless you've made mistakes along the way. And unfortunately, some mistakes could be categorized as negative or bad mistakes. Other mistakes could be categorized as something that propelled you to the next level. And so, I mean, flawed genius, what a title. Because it's true, everybody is flawed. Just depends on to what extreme are you flawed.
But I want you to look at the description. This is a genius and flawed at the same time. So if you're a genius, you are so brilliant. This is to me, the flaws are so...
You're not allowed to make errors.
This is to mean, if you're a genius, the flaws still are so big. And I think there is a quote that I'm reading, then from there we just do one story because of time. And Standard Leo in a story mingi. Africa must break away from the enslavement of the West. We must not allow them to use science to keep us bottled up. India and China broke away from the evil grip of Mzungus. They have a thriving and very successful culture of traditional medicine. In India and China, Western medicine is an alternative medicine. If I was in those two nations, I would be celebrated and supported by all government institutions. And that's a quote from the same flawed genius. So I think the next story is that we've been having the issue of SHA from NHIF. We've seen people complain, we've seen others say SHA is working and SHA is better than NHIF, which if you table the two people at the same spot, it'll be a kind of a fiery fight because they are pulling to the opposite side and supporting, each is supporting their side, which as citizens, I think we need to have a place where we understand the right thing, we understand the truth, and we understand the nation's or state's situation when it comes to any sector of governance. Like now, we are talking of your loved one is not living, is dead, and is held in hospital for a very long time because of bills. And now we have a kind of a reprieve or help and a grip of hope from the court, whereby court slaps ban on this disgraceful habit of detaining bodies over unpaid medical bills. And the court is saying that the High Court has ordered Meta Hospital to release the body of a patient who died there on August 2nd, ruling that a body is not a property and cannot be held as a collateral for a debt. So I think there are some measures that should be taken, or even there are some... They need to change the way of holding a body too much in an hospital because, as the court is saying, it is not a collateral for a debt. It's like you can't keep my loved one's body there in the name of the hospital. I hold the hospital a certain amount of money because you have to release the body, so that maybe we need to strike some other deals. Maybe I give you my title deed if I have. So I think these hospitals, because we are promised by the state that all these health agencies, or like NHIF and SHA, and now we are in SHA, is working. And I think this bill is accrued because SHA has not been paying. And I think a lot of people are registered on SHA. And because SHA is not paying, that's why you can see the crisis and scandals that we are seeing in our hospitals. I think this is just one case in Meta Hospital.
And you know, it's such an unprecedented ruling by the courts. And the Meta Hospital held the body of a lady, and they were owing the hospital in millions of shillings. And the two sons actually went to court to pursue this case, and the court now ruled in their favor. It sets now a precedence for many other hospitals who often than not would hold the bodies of loved ones in the name of, you need to clear this bill. My question normally is, does that solve the problem? Because my relative passed away. I owe you 300,000 Kenyan shillings. You hold it because I did not complete this money for another additional 2 weeks. You've given me timeline for additional 2 weeks.
And the bill is still adding up.
The bill continues to accrue.
Yeah.
And so I really don't understand if the hospitals are always solving a problem or making it worse. And that is why sometimes you'd hear somebody say 5 million shillings to a certain morgue or a certain mortuary, and you'd wonder, you know, why would the hospital let it get to 5 million shillings? And so this sets up precedents for all hospitals on just how they have to approach it. That means find alternative ways of settling the debt. And the court in its ruling said, you know, it denies this loved one a dignified send-off. It's not respect, because, you know, for instance, there are cultures which require you to bury people a week or 2 weeks after they have passed. I mean, you've gone way beyond those 2 weeks. It becomes a problem. And so we'll look to see just how the hospitals respond. But the key word is alternative way. We're not saying don't pay the hospital.
You have to pay.
Or you have to pay, but just you have to sit and agree on an alternative settlement means so that you can clear the hospital, but at the same time you can also give your loved one a decent sentence. Because
I think when you are trying to hold the body there, as you've said, the bill is still adding up from the initial one. So you're giving financial stress to the same family, and you're holding the body there because maybe you're not paid like 300,000. So maybe if you keep it there for another 1 month, these people are looking for ways and means to make sure that they
just the 300.
Imagine.
Then there's an additional amount. So it's, I mean, it's really not
so hectic.
But at the same time, what I love about this country and just how much we are progressing is you've got societies, associations, which give you a welfare sort of, I'd say, package or send-off, where you can pay just as minimum as 200 shillings or 100 shillings a month, and it gives you like a send-off package, not just for you, but also for your nuclear family, or if you'd love to cover your wider family. So it is also about time that we get to have this civic education about these societies and what they can do, what they cover. You have societies which give you up to 200,000 Kenyan shillings in the case of death of a close member, or even 100,000 or 50,000, just depending on how the society is. So we need to take that approach, because it's not enough to just belong to a SHA or an insurance that covers when they're alive. So what happens when this person dies? And we've got institutions for that. So it's about time that Kenyans, we get into such institutions. And I know we'll do okay.
No matter the fee that they pay maybe per month, it may be a small one, but at the end of the day, because of the number of people in the group, I think it adds up to something that is substantial. And in such a situation like this one, you sort things easily, because there is also the trauma that is added on top of you holding my body, and this person is dead, is my loved one is dead, I don't have the money, you're still adding the bill, and trauma is still increasing, depression, stress at the same time. So I think we need to have a talk and understand how we're supposed to do and how things should be taken care of. And that is how we end here from the Standard newspaper.
Okay, we'd love to take a quick break at this point, but when you come back, as I mentioned, and we'll be having a conversation around the suicide epidemic. Get this, between June and August, just this year, 462 people have died due to suicide-related deaths. If you do just simple maths, that means every month we're losing 150 people to suicide, or in a day, about 5 people are dying due to suicide. And those statistics are very grim, and we'll be having a psychologist in studio just to be able to take us through how, what is it that is in the mind of this person, and how can we help them, even as close people to them.
That's how we end it here. But after this, we are having that kind of an interview, and I think it will help a lot of people, because, as I said yesterday, we are having a lot of situations that will lead someone into suicidal thoughts, and we don't advise that. There are a lot of ways to mitigate that. There are a lot of ways to make sure that you stop or even have a solution for the same. This is the 30th day of September 2025, and this is how we end here. And we're wishing you a very good month. This is October 2025. We bless you here from EBN TV.
All right, don't go too far. We'll be back shortly.